What's good, folks? This is JD from Kick and Makeup MMA. Just want to let you guys know that we had some technical difficulties while we were recording yesterday with our video. So we have an audio-only show for you today. It's the same thing that we recorded. We just had to take the audio out because the video was acting crazy. So make sure you guys check this out. And as always, be ready for a full video show next week. Hopefully we'll be able to do it live. But check us out at www.kickandmakeup.com.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Kick and Makeup MMA on Ustream. I'm your host, the American Hybrid, Nick Cunningham. With me, as always, is Jeremy JD Dorsey. What's going on, man?
Not much, bro. Just ready to do another show. Coming off the success of the first, we're able to do what we do.
Right. Big thank you to everybody that checked out the first show. We've already had a decent amount of views, so make sure to get your comments to us too if you want to hear something that we didn't talk about, have a question, or even comment on something that's how we're going to get this ball rolling and really get this thing off. It was a big weekend, as you all probably know by now, in MMA. UFC 160 went down, and we're going to get to that in our first segment. But I want to make sure you guys all know that it was also a big week for a lot of changes, a lot of different things we're doing, and I'll defer over to you and kind of let everybody know what's going on.
Yeah, just like we said before, we were thinking about turning this into something that's going to be a lot bigger and, really big on the MMA scene, especially in the Midwest and the Quad Cities. But we have an official site now. It's www.kickandmakeup.com. No more Blogspot, none of that stuff. We paid GoDaddy, so they hooked us up with the official website. So for everything you need, go there. It'll have our Twitter handles. It'll have email addresses, everything on there. There's also an archive of all the articles that Nick has written for Ola America newspaper, and all of our show archives will be on there as well. So when you get an opportunity to, if you're not on the Ustream page, just check out the official site, www.kickandmakeup.com, and you'll be able to get everything there.
Good, man. I'm excited about having that website.
Oh, yeah.
Just one more place for you guys to go to. Also, if you check that out and you also want to get a little more in-depth, or I don't know, personal with us, you can check out our Kick and Makeup Twitter handle at Kick and Makeup. Give us a tweet there. Also mine at Hybrid MMA. You can also email the show at kickandmakeup@gmail.com. It's actually, that one's just kickandmakeup@gmail.com. There's so many ats all over the place here. Also, we have a Facebook page also for Kick and Makeup that I will even this weekend update, ask some questions about the show or about the event coming up, take some polls, just do some different things, and I try to get something up there every day to make sure it's current. So definitely that's like 5 different things to hit us up on, so no reason not to. Let me break down how we're going to do this show again. Like last week, we're going to do the show in 3 segments. The first segment is going to be called the High Kick, which is the biggest and best thing going on in MMA for that week, whether it be an event or an actual fight, or just over a fighter. That's going to be the high kick of the week. The low kick of the week is going to be the biggest talked about thing in the news in the negative light. So that will be the low kick. And finally, we're going to finish off with the DQ no contest, which is, anybody ever seen that? That's like the low blow of the week, the most controversial thing. I don't know, me and you were talking. You might have to get something catchier for that, the DQ no contest of the week. And we can think of something else. That's basically our rant time, just to go off and talk about what the hell's going on in MMA. So we're going to kick it off this week with the high kick, which is...
Can I say something before you get started? Just in case you hear something in the background, there are people sparring in the back. I don't know if you can see. Yeah, you can't really see, but you may be able to hear it. So just in case you hear some thuds and people talking in the background, there are people sparring in the back, since we are at MFS just like we were last week, Bettendorf, Iowa.
Right. Big thank you to Junior Hernandez again for letting us come in here and do our show before we find a permanent home. And even when we do, I hope to come back here periodically for fighters and tape out of here. So our high kick of the week is the success of UFC 160, and I'm just going to go out on a limb right now and say that this was probably the best card of the year that I've seen so far. And with half the year out, there's plenty more to come, but man, from the whole televised portion, and even some of the fights on FX,
Yeah, the prelims were good.
and even some of the Facebook fights. I mean, I know George Roop and Brian Bowles fought on there. There was just top to bottom great action, and we're just gonna kind of break down a little bit of each fight off the main card, starting with the KJ Noons versus Cowboy Donald Cerrone fight, and what a way to kick off the night.
Yeah, it was a fight that we talked about in our first show, which was sort of previewing UFC 160. But it was everything that we thought it was going to be. You had Nunes showing his great boxing technique, and Cowboy was able to pick up the win in the end, though. Kind of dominated him on the ground once he got him to the ground, but he also had a lot of nice stand up too. But I was really impressed with the debut for Nunes from Strikeforce, since this is his first fight in UFC, but definitely didn't look like a rookie at all or anything like that. Highly trained, very experienced, and he's going to make some noise, I think, in that division.
And something for the fans that don't really know KJ Noons, a big guy coming out of Strikeforce, and that's been the big talk of the year. I think it's going away a little bit now, but are these Strikeforce fighters going to be able to hang with the UFC guys? And I think everybody that has watched them transition over is seeing that, yes, they are definitely going to be able to hang with the UFC fighters. And I think within a couple months, they're going to get that whole conversation washed out, because they're all in the UFC now. Aside from Bellator, that's pretty much the only two organizations. So everybody that's come over from Strikeforce is doing phenomenal right now in UFC. And even if you guys remember back, that was something we saw when the WEC was bought by the UFC. That was the big talk, was the WEC fighter is going to be able to hang in the UFC. And they're doing better, basically. Right. If you look at all the people that have the belts now, Henderson, Aldo, these are former WEC guys that have come over and just killed it, and so was Cowboy Cerrone, a WEC guy that just had his loss versus Pettis, but bounced back. Obviously, I don't think that's going to set him back at all, and he's still top 10. And after this win, they're going to put him right back up there. And, if he keeps his streak on again, it's going to be a matter of time.
And really quickly, I know that was one of the things that I was a little nervous about when UFC started buying up the its competition, pretty much, was that you were going to get a bunch of, no-name fighters, or the fighters that were in Strikeforce, and these other places were going to come in and get absorbed, and you never see them again, and that goes back to my fear from, sort of watching wrestling back in the day, and, WWF ended up buying WCW, and half their roster just never saw him again. And it was just like, it was a waste. But it's really cool to see UFC doing exactly what they need to do with the fighters and the talent that they have, and using it as a just a breeding ground for their bigger brand, and giving these guys who are great fighters a even bigger push on a bigger stage with UFC than what they were getting when they were at WC or at Strikeforce.
Right, and that's something that Joe Silva does a phenomenal job with every card, just matchmaking perfectly, to where even sometimes you forget about some guys and you'll see them pop up like, oh yeah, he's still in contention, that's a great matchup. So that's definitely something they did Saturday night. And also one guy that is flying under the radar is TJ Grant, but I would say that he's coming up above the clouds now, man, because he got a huge upset knockout win over Gray Maynard in the first round. And if anybody knows Gray Maynard, he's the guy that his nickname's the Bully, and he is a guy that goes out there and just bullies his opponents. He's fought Frankie Edgar, he's fought for the title numerous times, has never gotten it, but he's number two ranked pretty much, and this was a contender fight for the lightweight championship. So with that win, TJ Grant gets a shot at Ben Henderson, probably end of the summer, early fall, something like that. And we got a chance to see TJ Grant, like I said last week, and I'm glad we did. I don't think we really appreciated it as much at the time, but now going in, he's going to be one of those guys that he could take the nickname Bully, because he just goes in there straight-faced, goes at you, and he just caught Maynard with a huge shot.
Yeah, that was one of the things. And, like you said, just seeing Maynard fight in his previous fights, that's what he does. He comes out and, he likes to set the tone and, get things started really quickly, and that's exactly what he did. TJ took a few shots in the beginning too, but he was able to shake it off and, eventually get Maynard in a, pretty spectacular fashion. And that wasn't one that I was, expecting to see.
No. And even with the fight with Henderson coming up, he's a man of small words, as TJ Grant is. So even with the fight and all the promotion coming up, I don't foresee him really changing for the media and hyping it up and doing all this trash talk. His fights speak themselves in the cage. So I think it's a great matchup between Henderson. Needs some competition. Not that anybody else that he's fought. Obviously Diaz and those guys were great competition for him. But I like how this shakes it up a little bit.
Right. I really feel that Henderson needs a threat. He needs somebody who's going to really push him. And I think that, his last few fights, he's an amazing fighter. And, no slight against him, but he tends to dominate his opponents. Right. And, sort of makes them go to the beat of his drummer and makes them conform to him. So it'll be interesting to see Grant come out, this go around and, if he tries to bully Henderson off, from the beginning. And that's really not an approach that you see a lot of fighters take. Right. So I really hope that he does that because, Henderson can overwhelm you. And I'm hoping that, Grant can come out and say, I'm not going to allow him to do that. And I'm going to, get what I got from the very beginning and try to set the pace in the fight.
Right. And another guy that's flying, that was flying under the radar and is now making a name for himself is Glover Teixeira, getting his submission win over James Tahuna on Saturday night. And like I said, we also got to see Glover fight. Very nice guy, but hits the cage and he's an animal. And there's a lot of controversy on Saturday night that after beating Rampage, that the UFC should have given him somebody bigger, and that James Tahuna was a fallback in competition for him. And in the light heavyweight division, I think everybody up top 10 is competition for him. Mm-hmm. And this wasn't a feeder fight, but he did win pretty dramatically, arm triangle. And so I think now that they're going to be looking, his next fight's going to be somebody in the top 5 for sure. Mm-hmm. This is a guy that I can definitely see as a contender against John Jones for the light heavyweight championship.
Oh yeah, and you got anybody who can stack 20 wins in a row. Right? I don't care what you're doing. I can't win to 20. I can't eat 20 plates of anything. I can't do anything 20 times in a row, let alone going into a cage and winning 20 matches in a row. So, he's definitely building that resume, and he's at the point now where you can't deny him. They have to give him, a very big opportunity. And I'm guessing that's going to come within the next few months for him.
Right. And the light heavyweight division to me is always one of those, I always want to put an asterisk by it because you never know what's going on. You never know who, even with John Jones, you've got Chael Sonnen jumping up to fight and you've got all this different movement and so I'm ready to see even Jones get some more competition as he's running through everybody, as he's going to rematch probably Machida. He's fighting people for the second time now, and it's just good that we've got another guy that's slowly making his way up, and he's a scary guy coming up that's really enjoyable to watch. So I do see big things for Glover Teixeira coming up.
And I think that's one of the big keys in any division is having that competition. And when you have the one guy at the top and everybody else seems like they're, subpar, it kind of, diminishes what Jones has done too. It just makes everybody say, oh, he doesn't have any competition. That's why he's dominating everybody. Well, he might be dominating everybody, but everybody needs a good opponent. So if he can, if somebody can rise to these ranks, and hopefully Teixeira can do that and, really put up a legit, competition with Jones, it'll be great for the sport because that's what everybody wants to see. Nobody wants to see the person just come in and squash everybody.
Exactly. And moving on to the co-main event, man, we got a lot to talk about in this co-main event. Yep. Junior Dos Santos does what he was supposed to do and gets the win over Mark Hunt, but nobody saw the very last minute of the round as he did a spinning back kick that clipped Hunt, knocking him down, and then followed up by a few shots. I just want to say that this dude, it was already scary. Yeah. It was already scary. You got a heavyweight now throwing spinning back kicks. man, this trilogy, and we're going to talk about, you know, Cain Velasquez soon, but you know, the third fight's going to be something to watch. Where before, I don't think anybody thought it was going to be anything great, but now I think people are interested in it.
Right, and just seeing, you know, Junior's ability to, you know, just his, I don't know how to describe it. His cardio, first off, you know, he was in incredible shape. You could see that in his body. You could see that in the way he fought. He didn't look tired at all. He took advantage of Hunt, you know, sort of looking a little winded at times, and you know, maybe not coming in at the best shape that he could have. But just the power behind his shots, you know, in the first round, that overhand right that, you know, sounded like it made everybody jump out of their seat, and you know, just the smack, like that's, you know, that's something that you can catch a lot of times live, but to hear it through your TV too, like, I mean, that was amazing to see, and let alone the athletic ability of, you know, a spinning back kick, you know, and it shows you that he didn't catch him with that exactly flush, but he caught him with enough of it to completely knock his equilibrium off and get him to the ground, and then it was over from there. You know, big shout out to Hunt though. He you know, he did a great job. I thought it was kind of interesting that you know, that Junior came out to the Rocky theme as he usually does, but you know, that was more so something I think that Hunt could have came out to, because you know, he was the big time underdog in this fight, and you know, he wasn't able to pull it out in the end, but he caught Junior a few times, and there was a few that if he would have got just a little bit closer, he would have been able to really do some major damage.
JDS did a good job of getting out of the way, because Hunt is I'll even say he's a one-trick pony. You know what he's going to do. He's going to clobber you with that right hand. So JDS obviously watched tape and did a good job of staying out of it, not circling into it. But yeah, a couple of those shots were right there.
Yeah,
and
really.
And Dos Santos' chin has been tested before, and he's been dropped easily. So those could have been easily shots that landed, dropped him, and we could be seeing a whole different fight.
Yeah.
But we're not, and so we're going to see JDS versus the guy that we're going to talk about next. All you guys know, still heavyweight champion, Cain Velasquez, with his quick win over Antonio Bigfoot Silva for the second time. Wasn't as bloody as the first time around.
No.
Which, you know, I'm okay with that. You never know. But, yeah, Cain's a beast, man.
Yeah.
He is for a heavyweight, he's probably one of the most fit heavyweights that the division's got. All around, good fighter, and just goes in there. And I think that loss of his really clicked something in him that he doesn't want to ever happen again. And that's how he looks when he fights now.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, just seeing him come in and dominate the way he did, I mean, I'm sure we're going to discuss the end of the fight, but just seeing him come in and dominate the way he did, I mean, what else? It was sort of expected. But, you know, you still have in the back of your head when you have somebody who's fought, you know, maybe there's going to be something different this time, or maybe, you know, Bigfoot was going to have something that he was going to pull out his bag of tricks that we hadn't seen yet and, you know, catch Velasquez, you know, by surprise. But that didn't happen at all. And, you know, we got the outcome that we were expecting when we talked on the show last week.
Yeah, and I know even Dana White said in the the press conference, that everybody's always talked about Cain's chin being suspect because of his fight with Chet Congo and another fight with the first JDS time around. And he really disagreed with that. And I'm kind of 50-50. I know that his chin, he's proved that it's been pretty good, but still, you're getting that overhand right from Bigfoot Silva. I don't care who you are, you're going to feel that shot. And Cain did a good job to not let that even happen, because it didn't even go out of the first minute and a half, maybe a minute and 21 seconds. So we've got our rubber match coming up. I could see that coming in September or something like that. Side note, I know that somebody asked in the press conference, like, what's up with Mexico and the UFC going? And they said that, you know, Dana White said since day one he's wanted to do a show in Mexico, and that, man, I think Cain Velasquez versus JDS Part 3 in Mexico in September would be ridiculous. I am saving my doll hairs now to go.
I'm there.
Yeah, that's crazy. So really, that's like the little subtext for me with this. But like I said, where people maybe weren't that excited about this rubber match, and I think now people are really excited. Now I know I am. I know you are.
And it's gonna be way tougher to figure out who's gonna win that one. with both of these guys doing what they did in this event. You know, it's going to be a tough call. I mean, even though it's the third fight and, you know, you've seen it before, I really have a feeling that this is going to live up to all the expectations and probably be the best of the trilogy.
Yeah, so do I. Our low kick of the week, moving on. And, man, we need to – I know when we do this again, we need to have some little music, some segue, some poster that goes across the screen.
Yeah, how about we make that?
Yeah, let's do that next one.
We can do our own transition.
Right. For our low kick of the week goes to Cat Zingano. For all that you don't know, Cat Zingano was the female fighter, the woman fighter that beat Miesha Tate in April to get the nod to coach opposite Ronda Rousey on the newest season of The Ultimate Fighter 18, starting up. It just began taping now, but it'll probably pre-air in September, late summer. So she had to pull out because of a knee injury. And now Miesha Tate will step into her. So not a low kick for Miesha Tate, but Miesha Tate will now coach opposite Ronda Rousey on the show. But what a terrible blow to yourself and your team and your career. I mean, you're riding this big, huge win that got you to be coach on TUF, and you do something to your knee. And she said in her interview too that she knew right away it was snap, crackle, pop. She knew she felt something. The knee was done. That's definitely devastating for her career.
Yeah, you can't really, challenge fate. It's just, it is. I hate when people say it is what it is, but that's what this situation was for her. And, like you said, she had everything going for her. Everybody knows she's going to battle back and be strong, but it's going to be tough to overcome the setback. Not just the physical setback, but the mental setback of, sort of being right exactly where she would want to be, probably better than she had ever imagined that she would be in her career, with, getting ready to record the show and, getting a title fight. Like, that's, what else could you dream of? And that's exactly what she had, and now she doesn't have it anymore due to that injury. And, it really sucks for her, but I'm sure she's going to battle back strong, and she'll fight to try to get back that spot.
Right.
An opportunity.
And I want to think, too, that this is a big thing for Cat Zingano because she did have her core fan base, but not a lot of people knew who she was, but she's this killer in the sport. But this was her opportunity to show everybody from a new demographic of who she was. So there's a lot of back and forth even talk when you read about this and read some of the comments and forums that, Miesha Tate and Ronda Rousey is what commercially everybody wanted to see because they had this huge rivalry in Strikeforce, and now it's coming over. So even with doing preview shows and clips, they're going to be able to play this Tate-Rousey thing up all day long, whereas as opposed to Cat, what were they going to have really? Just the new stuff from their show. But I think obviously what's going to happen is these two are going to fight, and Cat Zingano is going to get the winner of those two. So in the scheme of things, she doesn't get the show, but she's most definitely going to get the rematch or get the fight of the winner of Ronda Rousey and Tate.
Right. I'm sure all the TV people and maybe Dana is a little bit happier with this this conclusion, so to speak. But it really sucks for Cat to have this happen now.
Yeah, and I want to say too that even in that fight, which they already started taping, and they said that they brought in Miesha Tate in, and Ronda Rousey was really visibly pissed off and left and went and thought that she was being replaced by Tate, but then found out all this and was happy about it. But I know that Tate complained that fight. I don't know if anybody didn't watch it. That was a great fight. Miesha Tate dominated Cat Zingano for the first 2 rounds. And then in the 3rd round, she was in the clinch and just took like a bunch of knees in the face. I believe took a nasty elbow too. Yeah. I mean, it was bad. And so that's where the ref stepped in and stopped it. And Tate complained about it and said that, that was too early to stop it and she could still go on, and went on forums complaining about it. And that's what we're basically going to transition into. And here's our transition.
Perfect segue.
To the DQ no contest. The DQ no contest segment of today. And this is our rant. all the complaints about early stoppages and, man, I'm already just getting angry and pissed off just already getting into it. But every fan and fighter and coaches that complain about these early stoppages, and let's go back to the Cain Velasquez main event versus Bigfoot. There's complaints that Mario Yamasaki jumped in too early to stop the fight. Even Dana White's even gone on the record saying that he's tired of referees jumping in too early, and that he even said at the post conference that he would have rather Herb Dean coach or referee this one, because you've got two heavyweights in there, and then you've got little Mario Yamasaki. That it didn't make any sense. And he said that he wishes he could pick who was doing these, and with there's only a handful of them anyway. And I just think it's kind of crap that there's all these complaints, because if you're the fighter, and I get that emotion of complaining, I don't know if I'd be complaining about the stoppage, because Miesha Tate complained about her stoppage. She ate like 4 or 5 knees. I don't think you're in the
standing knees, weren't they?
Disgusting. So, is that complaining that you're pissed that you got the knees to the face, that you didn't block? Are you really, that's what you're mad about? And even when you're getting beat down, you can stand up again, but should you? Should you just is your fight? The fight's over.
Right.
This Cain Velasquez fight over Bigfoot. He landed the shot on Bigfoot. Bigfoot went down. He went down. It looked like a flash knockout, similar to what Cain received from JDS their first time around. Those flash knockouts, they're a knockout still. And then there was a bunch of shots to Bigfoot to end it, and that's where more complaints come. There was all these behind the back or the back of the head shots from Cain, and it's just like, I think it's too much when people go on afterwards and complain about the stoppages, because isn't it about safety first, fighter safety first, or not? I don't know.
You know what I'm gonna do here? Disagree. I kind of thought, especially in the Velasquez, Bigfoot fight, that might have been a smidge too early.
Yeah.
Now, this is where I go back and forth on this issue, so I won't totally disagree.
Okay.
But I kind of feel like if the fighter isn't clearly knocked out, maybe you shouldn't run in and stop it that quick. But if you're the fighter, you should know that once you start getting hit, if you just have your hands flat on the mat, just like Bigfoot had his hands flat on the mat, he wasn't doing anything to cover his head. He could have rolled onto a side. He could have did something to protect himself. He could have, tried to throw a punch, something somewhere. Like those guys, I don't think that it's ignorance of the fact. I don't think that they would know or not know that they shouldn't do something like that. So obviously he's probably dinged up a little bit to the point where he's not protecting himself.
Right.
So, I kind of go back and forth on the issue. I thought that was a little bit early, and I think there's a lot of times where I feel that there's, it's a little bit early, but you got to sort of protect the investment of these fighters, and you don't want to see anybody go in there and, get pummeled, way beyond the point where the fight should be stopped. Odds are Bigfoot wasn't going to be able to overcome that, even if they let it go another 5 seconds.
Right.
But, there's that little bit in the back of my head that says, maybe if it would have went on another 3 seconds, he would have been able to, start blocking some of those punches, or at least form a little bit of offense to let the referee know that, man, don't stop this quite yet.
Right. And I think referees get different. You get to know them better, and they build reputations and who lets what do what. And also, there was a fight earlier in the night on the FX with Rick Story and Mike Pyle, and Rick Story landed a huge shot, dropped him, blasted him down, and the referee let it go on, and Pyle ended up turning it around and winning. So you see that early on in the night, then you see this later on. I think it's a slippery slope. I do understand that even watching the fights and getting them, and it was over in a minute. It was a great card. And then you got the main event over like that. It was like, it just kind of, the excitement just kind of stopped. And you wanted to see another bloody 5-round war. Right. But it's such a slippery slope. Championship or no championship fight, I just think that it's very risky for that referee. It's a loss situation. He lets it go on longer and the fighter gets hurt, he's going to get, it's on him. He stopped it too early, it's on him. I will say that UFC even had talked about, because this is such a topic this week, of maybe finding the referees for early stoppages. I think, I can't remember who in the press conference said that. It was either TJ Grant or it was Bigfoot that said, he did think it was too early, and maybe they should start finding the referees for stopping it too early.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a bit much. Anytime you start playing with, the officials, their paychecks a little bit, like when you start playing with that, I think that's going to make people go way to the other side and really let things go, because they don't want to lose that money. And I don't think that you need to have any sort of incentive like that. I don't know if he can, if Dana can sit everybody down and talk to them, or, they can kind of, try to change things. But the more you think about it, the more you probably just want to leave things alone as is and let these guys do what they're paid for, which is to officiate these fights and to the best of their ability.
Right.
And just speaking real quick on the even in the Mark Hunt fight, there was that overhand shot that he took. A ref could have really stopped it after that. Like, he took that shot, he went down, and he stumbled back and fell back. Seeing that shot and hearing that shot, referee could have easily jumped in and said nope, and just stopped it right after that. But he didn't do it, and you got to see a little bit more of a fight after that.
Yeah. So the best thing we can do as fans and fighters and is, when you know that you lost, don't go the next day or weekend on a campaign that it was too early or that you could have gone longer or whatever. If you know that it was time the fight was over and you lost, or you took your shot and it was bad, own up to it. That's the best we can do on a whole. And I think if everybody starts doing that a little bit, I think it will maybe shift a little bit the best they can. But there's always going to be those close ones that we'll be still talking about. And hey, it was our third segment, so I don't want it to go away completely, because we don't have anything to talk about. We don't have anything to complain and bitch about on the show. So but like I said, all of that. This was a huge, great weekend in MMA.
It was.
And there's some more stuff coming up later in the summer. This kind of kicked off some of the show. There's another Fabricio Verdum's fighting pretty soon on FX coming up. Just a few more things coming in the summer, and just getting ready for some stuff. And I know that I hope that all these cards are similar to this one. They're so up and down when you watch UFC. There's a great card, and then there's nothing the next one. I mean, they're all lackluster. I don't even think anybody was on the ground for more than 5 minutes combined in the main card, at least.
No, you never know exactly what you're going to get. So whenever you can get one of these where, almost every fight was, a good one, or at least, action-packed, had some things happen in it, man, that's all you can ask for, especially when you're handing over $60 to, see something good. It's kind of scary that it's hit or miss sometimes, but when you have the hits like, UFC 160 was, it makes it all worth it.
Exactly. So that about wraps it up for this episode of Kick and Make Up. We want to make sure that you guys are interactive with us, and maybe get some questions to us for our next show, so we can do some, viewer mail and talk about some stuff that maybe we missed today, or maybe there was a card on the undercard or a fight on the undercard that we missed and you really want us to highlight. Let us know. Hit us up on our Facebook page, Kick and Make Up. The Kick and Make Up Facebook page, the Kick and Make Up at Gmail. You can email us there. You can hit us up on Twitter at Hybrid MMA, and at the show's Twitter at Kick and Make Up. Man, like I said, 5 places to hit us up. No reason not to. We'll be posting stuff. Make sure you like anything you see, and we can talk about it more. I mean, get into those polls and answer questions and just anything and everything. We're trying to build this thing up. So we really appreciate all the views from last week, and we hope you guys enjoyed the show again this week. That about wraps it up. I'm your host, the American Hybrid, Nick Cunningham. With me, as always, Jeremy J.D. Dorsey. And remember, don't solve it in the streets. Take it to the cage and kick and make up.
What's good, folks? This is JD from Kick and Make Up MMA. Just want to let you guys know that we had some technical difficulties while we were recording yesterday with our video. So we have an audio-only show for you today. It's the same thing that we recorded. We just had to take the audio out because the video was acting crazy. So make sure you guys check this out. And as always, be ready for a full video show next week. Hopefully we'll be able to do it live. But check us out at www.kickandmakeup.com.